Hey everybody, I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use Excel for the problems in this class, for these Excel practice problems. I know a lot of people who aren't comfortable with Excel will actually just work out these problems on their calculator and then just type the answers in. And I suppose that's not wrong, but the intent, of course, is to teach us to be more comfortable with Excel. So I have a problem that looks just like our first Excel problem, our Excel practice problem 1 in the class. And I'm just going to show you how I would go through and use the formulas in Excel to do this problem, which will, if you learn how to do this, it will make you much stronger in the course and just better at accounting in general, and so many other office functions as well. So if you want to be in business, learning to use Excel is a really important tool. So again, this looks just like our first Excel practice problem, except the numbers are different. So our first question tells us to determine the cost recorded in a journal for the following situation. We're looking for a new stove, and we've narrowed down our options to option 1, stove 1, which costs $2,000, and stove 2, which cost $2,200. And then we were able to negotiate a price of $2,000 for stove 2, so a $200 discount. So it says we run the numbers and decide we want to purchase stove number 1, and we're able to negotiate a price on stove 1 to be $75 cheaper. So what will the cost of the stove be? So to use Excel's functions, you always start with an equal sign. For those of you who've used Excel before, you know that already. But for people who never have, that's new. So I hit equals, and that tells Excel, hey, I'm going to use a math function here. And then all I have to do to find the cost of the stove is click on the cost of stove 1, hit minus the amount of the discount. And then you'll see my cost is $1,925. All right, so the second problem, it just wants us to use the accounting equation to solve for the problem. So we know that the accounting equation is assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity. And so really, all we have to do is figure out what's missing. So for this first one, we can see we don't know assets. So if our assets equal our liabilities plus our stockholders' equity, I'm going to do an equal sign to tell Excel I'm doing math here. And then we know that it's liabilities plus owner's equity. So our assets will be $12,500. In the second one, we know the owner's equity. So if assets, I'll just do this over here to make life easy. If assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity, well, if we're missing owner's equity, we could do this as owner's equity equals assets minus liabilities. So to find this one, the owner's equity, I'm just going to say, well, that equals my assets minus my liabilities. And then finally on part C, we're missing liabilities. So we can rewrite this algebraically as liabilities equal assets minus owner's equity. So again, I would use an equal sign to tell Excel I'm doing math, and then I would do assets minus owner's equity. All right, on this next one, they want for us to prepare an income statement. And so I'll show you again how we can set this up. And so it gives you a little hint over here, right? It says if you want to, you can look on exhibit 1.10 on page 16 in the textbook for an example of the financial statements. So I'm actually going to bring that up. So I'm going to pause this video a second, bring it up just so you can see what they're referring you to there. All right, here I've brought up page 16 from the course textbook, and it gives us examples of each of the financial statements. So I'm just going to try to kind of copy the same thing. So this is the Jones Company, so I can see the first thing I have is the name of the company up at the top. And then income statement. And then this tells us it's December 31st, 2018. Right, that tells us that right there. All right, so that's what our header will look like. And I just pulled that off of this example one they told us to go look at. And then we see the first thing we have is revenues. And I'm going to look at these and say, so here's something I'm going to tell you to do. In accounting, like the less we can rewrite things, the better off we are, the less chance we have for making an error. Okay, so you can remember I showed you how to use the equal sign to tell Excel you were doing math. You can also use the equal sign just to tell Excel to reference another cell. So if I put equals here, and then I hit, where was my revenue account? Fees earned, and I just click on that cell, it's in essence going to just reference that cell and put the information from that cell in this cell. So that makes our lives a lot easier. And I can do the same for the number. I can say this equals this cell, which is cell C33. Like that, if I wanted to. Let's see, I don't see any other revenue accounts, right? We have cash, which is an asset. And then miscellaneous expense, wage expense, rent expense, fees earned, which is a revenue account, office expense, and accounts payable. So I'm actually going to take that back out of there, and I'm going to put it over here. You can see here that when we had more than one revenue, they kind of used this left column to list out all the revenues, and then the right column to do a total. But since I only have one, I'm just going to put it here in the right column. So I'll say this equals cell C33. So there's my revenues. And then we'll do our expenses. And then again, I'm going to use that same process. I'm going to say, so cash, which is like an asset, is put in here just to trick us, because assets don't go on income statements, they go on balance sheets. So nice try, but we're not falling for that one. So I'm just going to say equals, and I'm going to just do my expenses, miscellaneous expense. And then this equals the amount of the miscellaneous expense. And this equals wage expense. And this will equal the amount of the wage expense. And this equals rent expense. And this will equal the amount of the rent expense. Fees earned, we already got up here as a revenue. Office expense. So now we have all our expenses in there. So we can total all these up by using a function, a special function called sum. And there's two ways to do this. I can hit equals and type sum, and then do an open parenthesis, and I can highlight all of the numbers I want to add up. And close the parenthesis, and it will do it for me. You have to admit that's way easier than doing that by hand on your calculator. The other way I can do this is there's a little button here. Looks like a weird on its side M. That's actually a Greek letter epsilon, and that means sum. Okay, so I can click on the cell I want to do the sum in, click on the sum button, and then just highlight the numbers I want to sum or add up. And there's my total expenses. So at the bottom of that, I can type net income. And my net income is my revenue minus my expenses. There we go. So there's my income statement for the Jones Company. But again, what I'm trying to show you here is, I mean, of course, we want to do the format of it right, and that's why we're looking at these examples. But I'm trying to show you how to use Excel's math functions, just the basics, right? We're either referencing a cell just to pull that cell down, or addition and subtraction to do these problems. All right, Next, they want us to do a statement of owner's equity. So again, I'm going to just kind of follow this example. So the top line is the company name, Jones Company. And then statement of owner's equity, so the name of the statement. And then month ended 2018. Okay, so we're ready to do our statement of owner's equity. We can look at our example and see that it's going to have, let's see. So the owner's equity at the beginning of the period, so December 31st, 2017. So I'm going to say instead of typing it, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my cell reference, equals. And then the amount, let's hit equals, and we'll click on that cell. So you see, by doing these references, it really reduces my chance of errors. But the other thing it does is later on, as we get more advanced with it, it lets us create calculators. And so then we can change the data up here and it will automatically change it down in our income statement. So that's actually pretty cool. And so then we're going to add, or we're going to say plus, let's see, investments by the owner. I don't know how many lines it's given me here, so I'm going to just do investments. We'll do equals and the amount of the investments. And then net income. So I'll do equals and click the cell that has net income in it. Equals. Here, we'll do a sum of these two. I'm just going to use my sum button up here. So that's all of my additions to owner's equity. And then here I'll do a sum of that and that. And then we'll do less. It looks like I have room to do it that way, so I'm going to put it up here one more. And the less will be withdrawals or draws by the owner. So again, it gives us this info on fees earned. I guess they're trying to trick us because that's a revenue account and it doesn't show up in here. We just use the net income that we have right here. So the owner's draw was $1,000. Actually, I think since there's only one of them, I'll actually not put it there. I'll put it over here. And then I'm going to make my life easier, I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. No, it didn't like that. I'm going to paste it right, just paste the values. That way it keeps that nice blue background I have. And then I'll just change the date. That way I don't have to type it all back out. And that's going to be our owner's equity plus the net income minus the owner draw. And there's my owner's equity at the end of the year. All right, last one, balance sheet. So here's our example of our balance sheet. So again, we'll follow that same example. And Notice on the balance sheet that that instead of the month ended or year ended, it's just as of this date, 31 December 2018. Also, you'll see that Excel recognized it as a date, so it changed the format on me. So if I didn't want it to look like that, I could go back and change it, but it doesn't really matter for our purposes here. All right, so here's something a little different. Our balance sheet here it's in a linear format, meaning the assets, liabilities, and equity will all be down here in a line, whereas the one they present to us in the example is on the left and the right, where it has assets on the left and liabilities and equity on the right. So that could be a little confusing. Recognize that it's normal to see it both ways. I've seen it. This isn't like a psych episode where I'm saying I've seen it both ways, Sean. Okay, no, literally, in real life, I really have seen it both ways. So we'll start with our assets, and then we will go through this list and be like, accounts payable. Nope, that's not, well, just so you know, cash always gets listed first. That's just a norm on a balance sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and choose cash. And this will equal the amount of the cash. And again, we could do it that way where we put them all over here to the right, or it's not crazy. People often do put it here. So I'm going to try it this way. This equals cash. Okay. And then I'm going to look for other assets, like accounts receivable is an asset. Let's see, land is also an asset, supplies, and unearned revenue. So I want to show you another thing. I'm going to hit equals, and then I'm going to just highlight both supplies and its amount. No, it's not going to work for us. So I'm going to say supplies. And then land. Again, in the end, this will be way better than adding these all up on our calculator and just typing in the answer, because we'll be able to use all of Excel's functions, okay? And let it do the math for us. Total assets, I'm just going to use my sum these up. There's my total assets. We'll do the same thing. I'm actually not going to finish it out for you because I don't think we get any more out of that. But again, the idea is that our total is that what I'm trying to show you is I want you to learn to use Excel by referencing cells the way I did, just using the equal sign, and by using the addition, subtraction, and sum functions in cell to do the math for you, so you're not having to do the math otherwise. I don't want to finish out the problem. I think you can do that on your own, but I hope you'll get stronger at using Excel as a tool to do all of those things for you. So have a great day, and good luck working through the problem.